Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. This is Kenyan Revolutionary for another video, very quick one. I won't be here for long. As usual, I say that I won't be here for long. For real, I won't be here for long because I got tons of things to do. But Karibu, if this is your first time here, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades, I talk about Kenyan politics and the wild politics as it relates to Kenya. So if you like that kind of content, please do not hesitate. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and make sure the bell notification is on and always on. So every time I come in, you can always find me here. If you're already subscribed and you're getting the notification now, please, you know the first order of business, hit that subscribe button. Sorry, hit that like button, Amma. Okay, if you're going to watch this later, whether I know you're busy somewhere, you're at work, or you're watching Harambee Stars versus Burundi, or whatever the case is, that you're going to watch this later because you were so drunk out there with your friends, that's fine too. You can always hit that like button later when you watch it, okay? Or maybe you're at work or whatever the case is, all right? So, karibuni sana. I won't be here for long, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to speak about something very briefly, something that's going on in Kenya right now that's I think we should address. I'm Namnagani. And that is the Kenyan political parties, which to me, it's obvious they are nothing but a scam designed to subdue and control dissent. The Kenyan political parties, whether it's ODM, UDA, Jubilee, DCP, Safena, all these political parties are nothing but a scam designed to subdue and control dissent from the people, majority of Kenyans. For what purpose? To maintain the status quo. Now, I'll be very, very, not just brief, but very direct with you. Just think about it. All these political parties in Kenya that you see, DCP, PLP, Wiper Party, KANU, UDA, ODM, Jubilee, name it, Ford Kenya. Look who actually owns and runs these political parties. Ask yourself that. Who owns? I'm talking about the major political parties that we believed are the option that we should choose from. Okay? We had Jimmy Wanjigi on one of the, not Spice FM, but that's new channel with CT and the other guy, the young guy there, where he said, you know, it's good to have a variety because it gives an opportunity for Kenyan people, I'm just paraphrasing, Kenyan people to, you know, examine these candidates in the political party, then, you know, vote, you know, in whichever way they want to vote to. So he said it is a good thing. But what I'm trying to say here is these political parties are nothing but a scam. It's a scam. It's a scam. A scam designed to. Now I'll explain to you why. Okay, let me just go ahead and explain to you why I think they're a scam to maintain control dissent from the public. We understand, unless you live somewhere in Mars or Pluto or uranium or whatever the case, there's a clear understanding that the majority of Kenyans are not happy with the current, not only the political situation in Kenya, but just the way the country's been run. Okay? Whether it's the current administration of the day, Ruto and his, broad-based government and every CS minister, whatever you want to call it, okay? Anybody in this hierarchy, hierarchical order of Ruto's administration, no one is happy with them. No one is happy with the lack of development, the lack of economic development, the lack of service delivery, the extrajudicial kit. I can go down the list. You understand what I'm talking about, right? So everybody is dissatisfied. Now, we are being presented with gentlemen and ladies who are trying to convince us that they're the better option, that when they become president, they shall bring change. But here it is. Let me get to my point before, because I'm rambling a lot. Let me just take you to the whole main point that I want you to grasp. the trickiness, the reason why I tell you these political parties are nothing but a scam used to subdue and control dissent. If you look at these political parties, whether it's Safina, UDA, or whatever the case is, all right, they have harvested, I'm using that word deliberately, they have harvested, for lack of a better term too, I'm using that word, they have harvested majority of brilliant young minds, men, women, and women, okay, promising folks. I was watching, people call him Joachim, I forgot his last name, but his name is Joachim. Well, in some people say Joaquin, but anyway, let me just use Joachim, all right? He was in that Joe Aguero's show, I think, with the Ambo. They were debating, just talking about politics and all that stuff, okay? And the Safina party. And I was listening to this young man speak, okay? He has a very likable personality. You know, he can express himself and, you know, articulate the issues that they are fighting for, what they want to do as a Safina party. I guess he's one of the, he's not the Secretary General. Is he? No, the Secretary General, I think he is. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay. But anyway, so he was just discussing about the party and, you know, explaining what, you know, they want to do. And when Safina party wins, if they do win, which I know they won't, but for the sake of it, let's go for it. Okay. Anyway, I was impressed. He looked like a likable guy. He looked very genuine, someone who really wants to bring change to his country, okay? And he's fairly, relatively speaking, young, okay? So-called Gen Z, okay? Very impressive. Odhiambo was also having a discussion with him. Very reasonable. Seems like someone who is, you know his stuff as far as he understands how Kenyan politics works, you know? Now, go to ODM. You have the Sifunas, okay? And the other folks, Makoure, or whatever the case is, Msaliti, all right? These people are not stupid, okay? They're not intellectually challenged. They're people who have talent, okay? They can, if they put their energy at the right spot, in the right place, we can have a better country. But they've been harvested, as I've used that word, harvested. Okay, they've been plucked from the society and put in these places so that they can do what? They can lure the unsuspecting gullible wananchi who do not see the bigger plan, okay? Go to another Ninio, go to Jubilee, okay? Well, I have my own, you know, thoughts about Jubilee, but you can see everywhere, each party, okay? They have at least a fairly young folks being part of the main political, you know, party of that choice, of that, you know, of the specific party, okay? Who, you know, they use to try to lure in the wananchi to vote for that particular party. Now, the reason why I'm naming those few names, okay, these folks that seem to have influence, seems to be smart, okay? The reason why I'm saying that is because if you look at it, if you look at what they're talking about, these young folks that we are being paraded with, you know, we're having this barrage of these young folks on the media speaking about what ails Kenya, whether it's economically, whether it's the lack of justice or whatever the case is, and we are getting used to their faces, okay? They are doing so to lure, to influence majority of the young folks to vote for these so-called traditional big political parties that are presented to us as an option apart from Bruto, okay? This is what they're doing. But in essence, if you look at the end game, the long con game that is going on with this, the reason why they're doing this is to do what? To try to convince you, to get your mind of the idea that young folks, not just young folks, okay? Karibu sana Elisha Okinyo, nice seeing you. Not just young folks, but Kenyans of sound mind, not just sound mind, but brilliant minds, young and old, of all sexes, background, religion, all that stuff, can come together, okay? Can come together and actually exercise Article 1 of the Constitution and not using any political party, without any political party, remove these political oligarchs of Kenya, corrupt political oligarchs that are actually running the show in the political scene in Kenya. You see what I'm saying? Let me say that one more time. The reason why we have all this, but everyone is popping these political parties that I've just mentioned, the ODM, the Safina, Jubilee, PLP, Wiper, whatever the case is. These are parties. Remember, let me just use Safina for an example. Okay? And I like picking on Safina because they remind me of Ruto in 2022 before Ruto became president. Okay? What did Ruto do? Ruto came up with his manifesto. He was talking about how he is going to restore justice. We are going to, he's going to appoint the judges. He is going to return Miguna back from Canada. There'll be no extrajudicial killings. Education will be free. Production will be increased. All this wonderful stuff that Ruto was talking about. Very, 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 very good on paper, okay? But then he had an opportunity, became president, and here we are. SHA is not working. There's no, name it. He's selling everything. I just saw Rivertex has been leased to a foreign entity for 21 years, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades. 21 years that Rivertex is going to be leased to a foreign entity. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, if you don't get what I'm trying to say, is that Safina, okay? They have wonderful 5.4-point plan that they were trying to explain to us, telling us these wonderful things that they're going to do, revitalize the industries. The whole thing is about economy, okay? They're talking about economic revolution happening in Kenya. But like I said, Kenya's problem, yes, is economy. But you cannot have an economic revolution without laws in place that will guarantee that those things that you put in place can actually boost this whole revolution you're talking about. For example, we still live in a culture where if you have money, the law does not apply to you. You can get away with anything. I mean, we see this with the whole thing that happened in JKIA. I mean, I just read that the guy that was pictured with Hassan Joho, his house has been raided and he has been arrested. Okay? Exactly. Elisha Okinyo, I agree with you. Manifesto are just nothing but empty words. They are empty words. Okay? I agree with you there, Elisha. Okay? So that's what I'm trying to say. You cannot have an economic revolution if you have laws in place that are not enforced. If you look at the rise of China, okay, China, they dedicated themselves to the law. If you look at how the United States became a republic in the beginning, I mean, right now we can debate if it's a republic or not, but I'm just saying what made it great and made it work economically, okay, which drove them to become a superpower, was fidelity to the rule of law. The Constitution was supreme. Regardless of who broke the law, they had to be subjected to the Constitution. And it has to be enforced, guarantee the rights of the people. Same thing with China. Okay? That's why you hear every time we look at the news reports, if a minister or a public official steals from the Chinese government, he's gunned down, hanged to death, regardless of how high ranking that politician is. That's what happens in China. And it has been in place for a long time. And that is what boosts, it deters anyone who thinks of committing a crime, an economic crime against the state. You understand what I'm saying? So same thing with these United States and even Europe. If you look at these industrialized nations, you know, they just did not have this industrial revolution while corruption was rampant. Now, I'm not saying that corruption does not exist totally in US or China or Russia or these powerful countries. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that, you know, the law there is taken seriously. It is enforced. It is not a matter of, oh, so-and-so has been caught in, you know, corrupt deals, you know, analipa pesa kidogo and he walks free. No, it does not happen that way, especially if it's a case of corruption, misappropriation of public funds. Okay, they do not laugh about this thing. And there's a great correlation between law enforcement as it relates to economic crimes and economic growth. Okay? The one example that everyone likes to compare Kenya and Singapore. Everybody and their mama. Oh, Singapore in 1965 was a muddy place, whatever, and we used to even offer aid to them when Jomo was the president. And look at Singapore, how it has become. It has revolutionized its place. Now it's like whatever. It's like a first world country, or whatever the case is. And we like quoting that, giving that Singapore example without highlighting the very one pivotal moment, important step that the Singaporean prime minister or president of that time, I forgot his name, that gentleman who has, you know, now is famous worldwide, did. He said, when he came to power, that anyone that steals from the public was to face the law, was to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. He guaranteed that. So those officials who are stealing, being involved in corruption of all sorts, when he came to power, he made sure that he prosecuted them. They faced the law. Nothing ya kupendeleana that you're from this class or you're that class or whatever the case is. If you violated, you are to be brought to justice. You understand? And that is what revolutionized Singapore. To this day now, it's considered one of the developed nations in Asia. Okay? And that's what seems to be missing in Kenya. That's why if you listen to all the political party manifestos, what their main issues, the agenda is when they're trying to parade their manifestos out there in public. Okay? And that's why I use Safina, for example. DCP does not have one. Gachagua is simply just talking about one time and promise us, you know, telling us, oh, when I come to this, but nothing really concrete. But I'm just using Safina because they're the ones who just came up there. They have their own extensive, you know, points. I think it's a 4-point agenda or whatever the case is. I think it's 5. Okay? And it's based in economics, which is all cute. It sounds good. But what I'm trying to say is this. It does not mean anything if the emphasis is not on law enforcement, the guarantee in the implementation of the 2010 Kenyan Constitution. That should be the number one thing, because we have a wonderful document that we govern ourselves by, called the 2010 Constitution. If it's really, truly, fully implemented, and we truly go for those people who have been misappropriating public funds and committing all these atrocities against Kenyans, violating the Constitution, the laws therein, economically, we shouldn't be where we are right now. Sakaja shouldn't be walking around having interviews talking about telling people to go paint their buildings. Nairobi should not be flooding with rainwater as it is and having dirt everywhere. SHA should be working just fine. All the loans that were taken from IMF, World Bank, and all this, Bretton Woods organizations that have been misappropriated, we should be able to trace where that money went. If it didn't go to development, then who actually approved them? Were they acquired illegally? Legally? Why do we have so much debt? Why do we keep on borrowing? Who receives that money? How was it used? That should be the work of the Senate and the members of parliament. It's not so hard to do. So that is what I'm talking about. And all this is in the Constitution. It spells it out, the process in which we make our budgets, and also how we borrow if there's a need to borrow, whether it's locally or internationally. And all these bilateral loans that we're involved with China and other nations. You understand what I'm saying? So that is what I'm talking about. So you can say all these wonderful things about how we are going to not pay the debts that we have acquired and how we are going to boost economic growth, but it all is anchored in the fact that the law in place has not been implemented and is not respected and is not followed. And the criminals that are violating these laws from the previous regimes to the present one have never faced justice and actually still going around doing whatever they want, stealing, acquiring land. You understand what I'm saying? There's no accountability. Accountability is not just by saying, oh, we are not going to pay the debts that were acquired illegally. Jimmy Wanjigi, Willis Otieno, Joachim, you hear me? It has to start with historical injustices. That is what has to start with. Okay? But none of these political parties are actually addressing this. None of them, not Jimmy Wanjigi, not Martha Karua, not Matiang'i, not Raila Odinga, not Ruto, not Kalonzo Musyoka, not Sifuna, not Wamalwa. None of them is addressing, not Maraga, not Okia Omtata. None of them is addressing this. Why? Because they understand if we were to open the books of justice, the historical injustice that has happened from the first ever administration, Jomo, Moi, Kebake, Uhuru, to Ruto, all of these political candidates will be going to jail, including Jimmy Wanjigi. All of them will be going to jail because their name will be involved in some kind of corrupt activity in the previous regime or in the present one. All of them will go to what watakuwa naenda jela. All of them. So what are they doing? They're doing the same thing Ruto was doing in 2022. Thank you, Alicia. That's a very good point. I like this point right here. I have to highlight it. Okay? I like this point. He said, how can they follow manifestos while they can't follow the Constitution? Absolutely. How can they follow manifestos if they can't respect or follow the Constitution? You understand? And that's why I'm saying these Kenyan political parties are nothing but formed organizations used to harvest influential, bright, young minds in order to subdue and control dissent. Real revolution. All of them. And how are they doing it? Not only by their influence, just by being influential and being your face on TV, but through this choreographed drama that we are always treated to. Whether it is bacteria and virus with DCP, with Kalonzo Musyoka and Gachagua in Kitui, or a 2-hour exclusive interview with Gachagua where he talks about how Hassan Joho has been pushing that weight, or what Ruto was doing while he was his deputy, and how Ruto is tribal and is a criminal and is doing all this stuff, and you wonder why they are not going after Gachagua. Or is Raila faking that he's sick somewhere in London or whatever the case is, while they plan for their 20th year, I don't know, anniversary or whatever the case is. You know, it's always drama after drama. Or Sifuna, you know, the possibility of Sifuna leaving ODM and joining Gachagua or whatever the case is. Or Natembea in Transyoya. You know, it's always drama versus drama, ben drama, ben drama. But the main aim is to subdue and control dissent. Let me tell you something else. Have you not wondered, after the Gen Z movement, okay? And I've been saying this for a while now. After the Gen Z movement, scare. Sorry, there's an aeroplane going through. Once the Gen Z movement was not concluded, but once you know, it happened and Ruto got scared and shaken, okay? He quickly entered into a what? Broad-based government. And right after the broad-based government, already they quickly conjured up two polars of power. Not pillars, but polar opposites of political confrontation between the broad-based and Gachagua and his followers on the other side. Immediately, I'll repeat again so guys, the people at the back can get it. As soon as the Gen Z movement was pacified, Raila Odinga came to join the broad base, then assisted Ruto with his goons through Sakaja to thwart the Gen Z movement in Nairobi, the Occupy State House movement. Immediately that happened, after things cooled down, walieka ile lock so that Gen Zs cannot rise again against the regime or the political oligarchy, the corrupt Kenyan political class. Walieka hiyo lead quickly, very quickly. You might be asking yourself, what lead am I talking about? Pole, there's a ndege here. The lead that I'm talking about is that immediately, once Gen Z's Occupy State House movement was pacified by the help of Raila Odinga's supporters, goons, ODM goons, attacking Gen Z's, working in cooperation with the state security apparatus, NIS, and every other police force, and even some rogue members of the military. Raila, the political class, quickly formed a polar opposite power structure of Gachagua faction versus the Raila broad-based Ruto faction. You understand? That way, that's why they were pushing so much Okay, nani Gachagua at that time alikuwa anaongea sana kila siku, and Gachagua was very pro Kikuyu. He was making it and Mount Kenya mlima mlima mlima. That's all he talked about. And the Raila Ruto side, Raila and the gang were talking about, oh, the Luo. Tuko kwa serikali. And these guys on their head, hey, the Kikuyus. Mount Kenya. You see what I'm saying? They quickly formed that. So that the number one step is to kutenga. That way, the young folks, the Gen Zs, were going to be divided by this tribal, ethnicized political agenda of, oh, we Mount Kenya, we are here, we are now in the opposition, tumechujwa kwa ninio, kwa serikali. And the other side were Luos, perceived Luos, okay? Sasa sisi tumeingia kwa serikali, hawa watu sawa wakule ninio. See what I'm saying? It was so intensified, that difference between Gachagua faction and the broad-based Ruto Raila faction. No. It was so intensified. Every week Ruto was, Gachagua was talking about Mrima, and Raila on the other side, and his goons and Wakina, his ODM compatriots, Wakina Kaluma. Okay? But they've moved further. Now that things have, people wakaanza ku debate hii mambo ya ninio, they've moved a step further. Walienda, they threw Matiang'i in the mix. Okay? Ndio maana unaona wakina bloggers wanalipolipo wanasema yeye Matiang'i mchapakazi. The so-called Aokos. Anaitwa Uncle Fred. Threw Matiang'i in there to continue completely destroy any Gen Z that will think about coming together and forming this united, not united opposition, but I'm talking about people coming together and going after the political oligarchs. So they threw Matiang'i in there, and they brought in Jimmy Wanjigi also. Okay? Ndio maana unaona ile wiki was so full of national delegates conferences. Hii delegation conference iko hapa this today, Martha Karua naye next week, nani pia this week. There's so much. This is a psychological operation to create deep-seated division politically. Of course, with a tinge of tribal politics in it, designed to scatter the flock. Yes. That's why you see now the topic is not even Gen Z, let's go and occupy State House. Nowadays, we are arguing about tuende tukachukue kura, tutalinda kura. You see how step by step these guys have pushed you further and further away from that idea of exercising your right, exercising your power directly to remove these corrupt political oligarchs of Kenya. You see how they've step by step wanawa dissect na wanawavunja, wanawatenga. Okay? Exactly. So now, if you pay attention, the discussion right now, this is how they've framed the discussion now. It's framed as, of all these political parties, which one do you think will remove Ruto in 2027? Nobody's mentioning anything about IBC and how Raila and Ruto handpicked this IBC. No one is mentioning that. There was a little discussion 2 weeks ago or last week when we were talking about does the Gen Z actually, or the voters, do they trust this IBC to conduct a fair, verifiable, transparent elections? Very few, a few days, like in your topic, Akaisha Ivo. No one is talking about how the IBC is compromised. Saizi, the aim, the topic, the narrative is Gachagua or Matiang'i the guy that is going to remove Ruto? Do you see how far they've moved you mentally and psychologically? Wamewatoa kwa ile thought ya hey, tukusanyike tuende tutoe hawa watu to right now we are looking at Gachagua or Matiang'i or Maraga or sijui Kalonzo in order to face sijui Ruto. The topic is tuende tukachukue kura one term. That's where we are right now. That's where we are right now. Karibu sana Ryan, I see you. You see how far we have become? We came. Wame to push step by step. Once Gen Z was walitulizwa, immediately wakaeka, they put that lead. And your lead walieka by proposing a division between the Gachagua faction and the Raila Gen Z faction. Raila Ruto faction. None. So that's how they did it. But anyway. So yeah, but anyway. Niko na mtu hapa anafanya kazi. So let me move to a location hapa kidogo. Hold on, guys. As we continue, there's work being done around here. So anyway, like I was saying, so what I'm trying to say in not so many words is this. The topic right now, the discussion, the main discussion has been flipped, and it has turned to chukua kura, and then mkapige kura, tutalinda kura, one term must be a guarantee, and then mkachukue kura. Nobody is talking about or highlighting how compromised this IBC that is in place is. No one is talking about Occupy State House. No one is talking about watu kukuja kusanyika na tuende tutoe hawa watu wote ambao wanatuenjoy. No one is doing that. The discussion, the agenda has been made through the mainstream media, Standard, Nation, KTN, and all these influencers that are paid by the government, by Ruto, telling us that tuende tukachukue kura. Whether it's the opposite. I told you in my other video, be wary if you see the members of this political class so enthusiastically telling you, go and register to vote. You have to. If they're speaking in unison, you have to be suspicious of their intention, because these folks do not have your interest at heart. We know that. They've proven that. We've established that. It's not up for a debate. We already know that. Okay? So, I simply want to remind you of how far we have become. We have come from. How they've step by step moved us from let's occupy State House, Ruto must go, to what? Tuende tukachukue kura, one term 2027. Go register and vote, one term 2027. It has been pushed to what Ruto always wanted. Remember, even during the Gen Z's protest, what was Ruto crying for? Ruto was telling us, ngojeni 2027 ndio mkapige kura. Mwache kukuja kupiga makelele hapa. Ngojeni 2027. Because that's what he wants. Na hiyo 2027 anataka muende mkapige kura. He wants an election. He wants the ballot, muende kwa ballot. Because he knows he has the referee in the hand, in his pocket. Unaona? So I'm showing you how these political parties owned and controlled, manipulated by the same Kenyan political oligarchy, corrupt political class that own these political platforms, parties that are recruiting influential young upcoming politicians to be on their crew, touting They're bullshit manifestos promising you heaven. Same way Ruto was promising us all these wonderful things pre-2022. It is all designed to lull you and to convince you that actually out of this corrupt pool of corrupt politicians of Kenya, one of them will actually do better than Ruto. At yao ndio wataleta change. While we know their track record, they've been in government before and we've seen how corrupt these people are. We've seen how murderous these people are. Whether it's Gachagua or Matiang'i. The moment I saw the politicians from both sides saying we should take Kura, that's when I knew it was a scam. 6 decades voting, nothing has changed. We need system overhaul, revolution, not election. Absolutely. Whenever you hear these people come together and they say, Kura, that's when. That's literally all bourgeoisie countries. Okay? That's when you know something is wrong. Huh? The parties, if they're serious, they will from one party. Yeah. Okay? That's Alicia also. So you see what I'm saying? So not, to be just brief, these political parties, whether it's Safina, whether it's UDA, Jubilee, and all this stuff, they are designed to do what? To take your focus away from the thought that you can actually represent yourselves without any political party. You can take power without a political party. Did you know that? You can have a president without a political party. The people can choose to move forward. Even within this 2010 Constitution, it is in the Constitution, Article 1. We can actually decide to overhaul this system by exercising our power directly by a popular peaceful revolution and remove all these politicians without any political party. Because remember, this is how they control the narrative. Okay? These political parties, okay, we have Joaquim in Safina. When he wins, let's say he becomes senator. Let me just use that example. He becomes a senator. Okay? Guess where he will be taking his orders from? He will be taking his orders from who? Jimmy Wanjigi. Jimmy Wanjigi, we know the history of Jimmy Wanjigi. This guy has been rubbing shoulders with all these corrupt folks, whether it's Uhuru, Matiang'i, Raila. He's been doing businesses. In fact, he said he's also involved in the SGR scam and all the other scams. That's how he became rich, from his dad doing business with Jomo and Moi, and that's how he became a billionaire. Okay? So do you expect this guy to actually bring in real change? Okay? The guy has billions. He doesn't know what to do with his billions. He's dreaming of being a president because that's all he can dream of. He needs more power. Money is not enough. So what I'm saying is this. These young folks, now that they have been aligned, bought, harvested, recruited by these political parties, you do not expect them to actually carry out the interest of the people. Just like you see the ODM, UDA, Jubilee, PLP, whatever the case is. When they act in the parliament, they act in the interest of the political party which is owned by an individual. So they're basically, in not so many words, they're acting in the best interest of their political demagogue. So ODM, they act in the interest of their demigod Raila Odinga. Jubilee, they act in the interest of their demigod Uhuru Kenyatta. Okay? DCP, whatever they do, they'll be acting at the best interest of Gachagua. Okay? Not in the interest of the people. The same thing. But they will come with flowery manifestos telling you about everything and everything. So you see how these political parties are nothing but a scam by the political class, the very political class. Okay? And what they're trying to do is they're trying to stomp down their authority as the only option that Kenyans have in order to revolutionize the system. Because what they fear is the popular revolt by the people. Because once we have a popular revolt, they do not have any control. Any control. And that's what they are scared of most. It is about control. Controlling the narrative, controlling any kind of voice of dissent, okay? Controlling any kind of what is to be discussed, who will be the president. Because remember, these are the very folks who are also agree on who will be the president. That's why you see, leading up to the political elections, they always come together and have their coalitions. Now, anazungumza huko nyuma ya tent, who will be the president and who will be the vice president. Okay? That's how they do it. That's how they play it. Elisha is saying, political parties are just like football teams. They always switch players from both sides to serve the globalist agenda, fooling the masses that change is coming and feeding them hope and one-term and two-term BS. Absolutely. Elisha, you're absolutely right. Same thing. You hit the nail on the head. The attention that I want to draw everyone that is watching is, consider how far we've come from when we were smelling power, when we were almost removing Ruto. Because the fall of Ruto would mean that the political oligarchs of Kenya would have no control. They could not control who will become president after that, because now the people would have power. And they know that the people would demand for justice. And if the people start demanding for the justice that the Ruto administration has committed, the atrocities that they are committed against Kenya, it will not stop there. Because people will say, it is not only Ruto that killed the Gen Zs, tufungue pia ya Uhuru Kenyatta for the past 10 years. Mara kidogo tutafungua zile kesi za ICC, zile ambao kesi wale tufungue. Ndungu report, Waki report, all those reports will be open. And they know when those things are open, all of them are in trouble. All of them. Wakina Raila will be in trouble. All of them. Martha Karua will be in trouble. Yeah? Moi family will be in trouble. Oginga family will be in trouble. Kenyatta family will be in trouble. Ruto family will be in trouble. Kila mtu will be in trouble. Jimmy Wanjigi will be in trouble. You see what I'm saying? So that is why they're scared of that. It's all right. That's why they're scared of that. Yeah. So yeah. That's why I keep on telling you guys that the political class, they have to start these political parties. Okay? They have to start these political parties in order to distract and to fragment the population, taking advantage of the least of our society. Now, this is the reason why it always works for them. As I wrap up, the reason why they always want to maintain the status quo, economically speaking, the disparity that exists between the rich and the poor is, you can see it is easy to manipulate people who have no economic know-how, but people who are challenged economically. Watu ambao, watu fukara. A society where majority of its members are disadvantaged economically are easy to manipulate are easily manipulated by the oligarchs because they have the money and they have the resources. So they will hire the Casmuels of this world, the Joachim of this world, the Sifunas of this world, okay? These young folks that seem to have a bright future, okay? The influencers, okay? They'll use them to manipulate the people so that people are divided, okay? So while mnakasirikia Casmuel sijui nini, it's taking away your focus. That's why all of these political parties, they don't care about economic nenio. Hizo ni kupiga two story. They want the status quo to remain as it is. That way, it is easy for them to use their ill-gotten wealth, the resources, the billions of Kenyan shillings that they've stolen, to pay, hire goons, hire supporters, hire influence, hire the media team to run a propaganda on you, to have a psychological warfare where you shall believe that these people actually are standing for something. And that's why I'm urging people, do not be fooled with all this. Chukweni kura, mkaenda mgoje 2027, mkapige kura tutoe Ruto. That's a sham. Revolution is in the Constitution. Article 1 inasema, we can either exercise our power directly or indirectly. We tried the indirect one, and they've all betrayed us and have exhibited that they cannot represent us. They cannot act in our interests. They've refused to audit the debts, the debts that were acquired illegally that they want us to pay. They keep on raising taxes. They keep on gunning us down, extrajudicial killings. They keep on abducting us. They keep on doing all sorts of things against us. But you still want them to actually preside over the election, the process of the elections in 2027. And you still want to hear them when they tell you, go chukua kura. We have to have a popular revolution, people revolution. Elections are not going to work. It's a scam designed to subdue and control dissent and to pacify anybody, the Gen Zs, the people of Kenya, who are demanding for real, meaningful change. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. I would like to personally thank you, Elisha, and the other guy who came in. I forgot your name, sorry. Elisha and Ryan, okay? My name is Kenyan Revolution. I leave it here. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, do all the good stuff. If you're going to watch this on repeat, do the same. Keep that in mind. Know that all these political... Go ask them. Next time, I usually tell you guys, if they come to your town, if they're having a question-answer session, ask them these questions. You cannot do anything in Kenya unless the law is fully enforced. The Constitution is fully respected. Any violators that have done that before has to be brought to account. That's when we can have healing in the nation. That's when we can have economic growth. That's when we can have all those Ninio. Without that, we cannot. Rivertex is illegally being sold, leased out for 21 years. Who is it going to benefit? Not Kenyans. And it will keep on going on because no one is being held accountable for their crime. So how do you expect to have economic growth if no one follows the Constitution? Okay? You have to follow the Constitution in order to have an economy that works for you, because the Constitution was designed by and for the people. And it governs how we spend our money, our political activities, our economic activities, our rights. Now, if you can't enforce that, then you do not have a republic. In essence, you don't have a country. You have a criminal organization with the political oligarchs at the top, Ruto being their mascot, and the rest of us on the bottom, cheering on, being traded, sold and traded to achieve their goals, not to benefit us, but to benefit a few of them. You see what I'm saying? That's why I keep on screaming to these Safina people, and I'm not picking on Safina in particular, but for them who are coming about this, oh, it's about economy, or it's about, you cannot have economy if you can't follow the constitution, like Nani has just said here. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, and in the comments, please, like I say, I impugn you, I urge you, I beseech you to subscribe, share, like, comment, and do all the good stuff. I shall see you guys next time. I'm Namnagani. Peace and blessings. I'm out.